Welcome back to the channel, Alpha Mortgages. We're out on the road today with Ryan from RG Property Solutions.
Hey guys.
Well, we've got some viewings booked in, haven't we?
Busy day, mate.
Absolutely. I'm super excited for this. So this is basically showing you guys what you can get in Peterborough with actual numbers, actual facts, actual figures, looking around. Should we get off to the first property?
Might as well. We've got a coffee, haven't we, eh?
Absolutely.
Let's go, guys.
Right, so we're at the first property, mate. Tell us what we're going in to have a look at.
So we're looking at a two-bed property. Nice area. It's
There he
obviously,
is.
yeah, nice area. You've got the on-street parking, quite sort of typical of this. Obviously, we've got. It clearly needs a little bit of work, but there's definitely potential value. So landlord, the back situation is really important. He's been on the market for a long period of time. It's come in vacant possession and it needs a bit of work, a bit of TLC.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm looking at that thinking, well, if he's motivated, price could be right.
So also potential health issues there, you said earlier
Yeah,
as well?
unfortunately, he's got the health issues. So again, this isn't about screwing people over. Yeah, it's not about trying to wrestle, but if we can do something, this guy's been on the market for a long period of time.
Yeah.
Can we help? Can we provide a win-win where maybe we get the right price, but we help him sell the property? As you said, usually we would quite open to take it with a good tenant. We'd obviously vet check them. However, this tenant's actually moving out, which suits us best because it needs some work doing to it, which lets us provide a really nice home for the family, but we'll show you inside anyway.
Let's go in. Right, we're going into the first house now. Here we are.
Really changing, especially with new, whether EPC comes in, but with any tenant you want to make sure there's no draft. It's just a modern door. That's really old. If you then look at the framework, there's a sort of telltale signs it's wearing, it's knackering out, and to be honest, you just want a modern side of things. When I look at the windows,
Is that where you get steam in them and stuff?
yeah, it's a big mistake people make is they think they have to replace the whole window, but you don't. You usually just change pane. But windows are a huge expense, really important to get that right. What I was also doing earlier is checking the drainage. Really simple, but sometimes you can see down there, you know, you need to clear that sort of stuff because when it builds up, you then get damp in the house. Checking the gutterings, checking the fascia boards. These are big expensive things. People just walk straight into the houses, they miss this. So, i.e. we're on a wooden fascia there, not a plastic one. That rots, that needs to be looked after. The gutters look a bit old, but they're all in good nick, all in good status sort of things. But it's in solid condition, which is good. Methodically, I follow the same form. 15 years in property, I still follow the witch form. Very old school.
But it works though, right?
Always. So we always get a picture of boiler, it's a must. You always get a picture of the gutter in, it's a must. Always get a picture of the roof, it's a must. I've just been on my hands and knees getting the picture of the electrics. Rewires are really expensive, it's really important.
What's the board? Is it a new board?
No, it's brand new board, yeah. If you get that
Brilliant.
wrong, that's £4 grand, that's potentially profit. Just checking around the top of the architraves, just no nasties there. Things I'm looking at for sockets, so really key to look for modern sockets. Telltale signs that things are old is you start seeing switches in like the woodwork and things like that. It's not new, it's not the way of doing things, it's something that's going to be a rewire. When you look, obviously behind them got a rad, look at the pipe work, is it old? If it's really thin, it's a telltale sign that it's potentially quite an old system and could demonstrate that it needs a whole new plumbing system. That's why you check the boiler as well. But as a family, this is good size and really sort of fun, and it's obviously tenanted. They'll be moving out of this one. Big space room. Again, it's really important just to double check. So this is really, really common, but you can see what happens over time. And this is a pain in the bum to do, so you have to re-skim the whole thing. Yeah, so again, you're just looking for telltale signs of anything. So this is just discoloration, this is cooking, ventilation sort of thing over time. But you've got to look for damp marks, etc. Sort of thing we're checking. Kitchens, we're obviously checking the modern appliances. One thing that people forget to do is to look at the switches. So they think, oh, it's a lovely kitchen, but how many sockets have you actually got? Is it a practical kitchen? Because all well and good having that'll fit kitchen. Always got one socket. Who's that going to help? You need microwave, you need kitchen, you need kettles, all these kind of things.
Yeah.
Also just checking our units. So this, I checked this earlier, the actual units, this is pretty good. There's no reason to be changed now. You need to have a clean up, but it's relatively modern. It's a nice utility, so it keeps everything out of the way, especially these older type properties. Space is key, and then obviously the downstairs WC, which again is worth its weight in gold, especially when you've got 3-bedroom property, 2-bedroom properties, and you've got kiddies in mind, any wheeze kind of things. You can't be running upstairs all the time. Yeah, so sometimes when you come into a property, it can be a nightmare with boilers. So when they have a modern boiler system like a combi, what people tend to, in the past, you put kitchen, but people try and hide them so you go up in the loft. So you need to have your steps with you to get up in the loft, or a little little trick that again I've learned rather than spend hours looking around is just go to the outside of the house, look in the roof and look at the walls, because there's an exit point where the boiler has to come out. So we've just spent 5-10 minutes, haven't we, coming downstairs going, keeping an eye for the boiler, couldn't find it, assumed it was in the loft, went in the back garden, looked straight down the side. Here, telltale sign, obviously a CO2. We've got a glowworm, and that's a decent sized boiler. That looks like a 35 kilowatt, to be honest. Modern system, modern pipe work. So again, that's a big expense that we won't have to worry about. We know the electrics are modern as well. So again, these are big expenses on this, but it's just something again that I do just to save myself time. If I get stuck, I just go outside and I just evaluate where's the exit point of the boiler, and that's where you need to go. It just saves you time on your viewing. It's a really good little tip that I learned. So we'll just go to the bathroom, obviously just wash your step. Obviously, things actually looking here is a bit of a modern bathroom. You then flip to here, it's knackered. Yeah, so it's again, you're looking at five grand's worth of work here. One thing I've noted as well, we spoke about these windows. Obviously they don't have vents in the bathroom, that's a big issue. So it lifts up, but with tenants you wanted to make it seamless. So what we would obviously do here is you can see the light, you'd probably come off here, but I'd get my electrician to obviously look at it. But you would absolutely, you've got an electric point there, however it is, let them work it out. I would want a fan in here, but I'd want a humidity fan, one that switches on without the tenant needing to do anything. Keep it, big mistake people make is they put the cheapest fans in, and then what happens then, it's so noisy the tenant turns it off. For the sake of an extra 10-20 quid, it sounds that's a lot, but that's because you're buying like a vent axio of really good quality.
Pro tip.
They'll whisper. It is a tip because they whisper quiet, therefore they don't turn it off, therefore you don't get any mould. Yeah, so when it comes to things like ventilation, don't be a tight ass. Put your money in your hand, because the consequences are then you have mouldy plaster, you're having to repaint, your tenants are unhappy, they complain about the mould, all because someone's been tight and put a rubbish fan in or no fan at all.
So basically it's going to save you money in the long run.
No brainer. Ventilation, don't mess around with it, get it as good as possible. Like your boiler system, get a really good boiler, because people want hot showers. They want a decent shower, and to be honest, they don't want to walk into a mouldy room.
So Ryan, we've been inside, we've had a look around, we've talked about the stuff that's going on in there, mainly focusing on the ventilation. Talk me what you do on the outside of the property when you come to it.
Outside gutters, big point. So we need to look at it's not, a lot of people just look at their property. You can clearly see neighbours had their gutters replaced, so that's fine. You come across, they're a bit knackered on this one. No, they're still good. There's nothing hanging. I'm looking for growth in the guttering. Big thing people do is they come to a viewing, they jump in the house all excited. They go, oh, where's the boiler and this, and they think they've done it. The expense is on the outside of the house. Yeah. People look like walls, fences, a fence panel. How much is that nowadays? Imagine replacing that. This has got a big garden.
It's not cheap.
Just come back here, I'll show you what I'm doing on the roof. Obviously the windows, you can clearly see there's a little bit of mist there, which is fine. We've already spoke about that. But just taking a step back, you need to look at the roof. So we can already see there's a tile missing. Well, that's only a little tile. Well, that tile needs replacing, because that's means of, water could be getting in long term. Another thing we're looking at is the flashing. So you see the LED flashing band below the window. Yeah. Is that solid? Well, look at next door. It's starting to wear out a little bit. Yeah. Go above, look at the roof. Really important to follow the ridge line. Now, you can't be too OTT, because these are old properties. But you need to make sure structurally, is there any sagging? Is there any bowing? Because a roof is excruciatingly expensive. The chimney, I'm looking up at the chimney, I'm checking the points. So it looks like the point is actually okay. It probably could have a look at, but I've got, lucky enough, the father-in-law is in my power team, is a roofer, so if I need him, he can go and check the power points. But other than that, that's where we should be good. Yeah. So on the gutter and there's certain things, so I spoke about checking here. What a lot of people forget to do is they don't actually look at little things like this. You can see there's crap down there, yeah? There's also some cement and stuff. So if you don't look after things like that, and this is obviously why you work with the best letting agents, that's why we've teamed up with Brookdale as the largest letting agent, because they care. They'll get in here and the nitty and gritty like this, they get that cleared, because it'll build up, and what then happens, you start having water issues around here. The same goes, this wood chipping's lovely, really nice,
Smells good as well.
Smells good, but what's it in front of? Look down. It's your vent tile. It's cool, it's fine now, but that starts building up, your vent tile starts getting blocked, you start getting condensation issues. So again, looks lovely. Maybe why not just raise the bricklaying slightly so it doesn't fall within there. It's just little things that you need to address it and nick it when you first do the refurb. If you don't, you're creating problems long term.
Hello mate, so we're at property number 2.
We are.
Talk me through your initial first thoughts, what we got?
So what we've got again, another terrace property, 3-bed.
One in the grey there.
Yeah, literally this one here. So automatically my mindset, I'm looking at things, I'm just checking out the neighbours. I see they've got pallets in their front garden. Don't cause judgment, but just be mindful of your neighbours. Also, like I said to you, I'm checking that ridge line. Now, straight away I've clocked, so it's not really going to on the video, there's actually a tile missing. And if next door, I can just say just here, to the left, the top, the tiles are off. Yeah. So that's going to need to be done. Just below the chimney, that lead flashing doesn't really look solid. So for me, the chimney might be okay, but the lead work's going to need to be done. It's going to need a tile, and you definitely need to look at that neighbour's roof, because obviously it's missing. You know, and it's all well and good, but when you've got a terrace property of these kind, they're sort of built in one. You don't want any recessed water coming into your property. Again, we'll look at the windows in a second, but yeah, attractive, obviously just checking the surrounds. There's off-road parking, quite standard. There's a really funky thing there, but you're also just checking your neighbours, relatively, as you say, all bar Mr. Pallet at the front, but we can check, you do things like check the back gardens as well. You can tell a telltale sign if people are looking after the area, the shops and the surrounds. I mean, they've got newer estates here. You know, look down there, so it's a demonstration. It is a nicer area. You know, it isn't just there isn't much crap on there.
Do you have to go on like a gut feel and things like that as well?
Yeah, I mean, experience from walking people. Let's say I'd never walked around here. I always walk the area for about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Just walking around endlessly, turning corners, and just looking for things that stand out. So eyesores, things that I wouldn't like, because I think a big mistake people make is they go and look at properties and they think, it's all right, it's only buy to let. But I would want someone like me renting my properties. So I need to think like them. How close is my shop, my pint of milk? How close is the school? Is the school any good? Can I get on the bus and get into town if I don't drive? How quick's my access points? And it's just the thing that people just look at the numbers, they look at the figures, they're not particularly looking at location, the particular streets. There's particular streets in Peterborough I do not even view. People love them on buy-to-lets, but they draw the wrong tenant type. There's high crime, and you look at the streets, they'll be messy, quite common to see a few boarded windows, but they just look at the yield. But
then you can get other issues down the line, like people not paying and things like that. And I got
tenant.
loads of horror stories.
But anyway, so let's have a look at this one anyway. Let's
go in.
So he does know, and he's expecting you, okay?
Low maintenance garden, this is always good. Low maintenance gardens, obviously just pure to the base, you've got to look after them. You've got a few seedlings, you'd pull these out. Again, just having a look at little simple things like vent tiles been painted over. You'd want to make sure, again, it's only minor, but again, you want to make sure, as I keep stressing with these older properties, ventilation is key. If you don't ventilate, you get mould.
There's going to be no airflow otherwise, is there, if they've blocked it up?
Beautiful sign there as well. 57's nice, isn't it? Okay, so it's a bit easy to visualise because there you've actually got a vent tile here. Again, just looking at the system. So instantly what I'm doing is, like I said, I'm looking at signs for mould, condensation, I'm checking the windows. They look like they've got very similar windows to the last property. We're double glazed, but you can see there's not so much condensation, but also there's no one living here. So there's no reason why this then doesn't have the same properties as the last one. In a nutshell, if there's no vent up here, which there's not because they're an old style window, they have to leave the window open. In winter, they're not going to open the window. You're then going to get condensation on the window, you're then going to get mould. So the windows need to be changed out. The front door, it's not the sexiest of front doors, but it's solid. The other one was wood, we said. Just checking again the kicks, making sure they're solid. There's no damp coming in, there's no drafts coming in, so the front door's solid. That wouldn't need replacing on this one. Again, the ceilings, I remember my mum having these. This is the in fashion. Again, just having a look. Got a lovely, beautiful one there. Very lovely. Take that out. Yeah. You've got storage. I mean, it's amazing how people look past storage. This bit of pantry kind of thing. But people, this would have been where people used to sort of wine and dine. You remember these are Victorian properties, you know, this is where people would have their guests around. See my cheesy excitement. Perfect. So what I'm doing here instantly then is I'm looking at the gas and I'm looking at the...
It's an old fuse board.
You've literally hit the nail on the head. So
that's really old.
That tells me instantly you're looking potentially, it's definitely a new unit. I mean, it's got a modern system at the bottom.
Yeah, it's a TNTS system.
So, yeah, but the actual fuse, so what I do, I take photos methodically. I do things in a methodical way so I don't miss out on things. You cannot afford to miss out on electrics. You can see there.
That's your old fuse board.
Yeah, obviously one at the bottom. And the same with the boiler. The first thing I do, but if you look down there, how deep that is for storage. It's people forget how important storage is. Again, it's a new system, isn't it? It's pretty evident. I'm just want to know where the boiler is because I just want to make sure we've got no back boilers. It doesn't look like it. It is quite normal in older properties sometimes to find a back boiler. We would find it behind the fireplace. We fire up and it would the house. It doesn't really fit in today's world, funny enough. So look where that is. It's just there's no logic behind it. There's no
use.
There's no sockets down the bottom. Actually, that's there's a socket down there. But we already know that the system's older, so you definitely be looking at it. Just have a look at the paperwork. What's this like? See, it's okay with this is so old, you're going to have it coming away, but you just want to give that a tap. And what I'm doing there is just checking fundamentally is the plaster side underneath. Last thing you want to be doing, start pulling this off, blows your plaster out. And then you're plastering the whole room and all of a sudden you're painting the wall is another £400 skip, you know. It's all well and good, and it's a mistake I've made, trust me. Right, let's have a look through here. So this needs new kitchens, but obvious, they haven't utilised this space at all. What generally people do, they put something here, and they will run it probably to here and here. As much counter space. This is an old boiler, point proven. So I would change that. Simple as that. And the light is buzzing, this is because of the old fashioned things. So what I'm doing here, again you can see, pictures of the beautiful family on there. I'm just taking these photos because you forget so many times when you go back, and it reminds me. So I've got a rewire in my head. I've got a new boiler in my head. I've got windows that need sorting. Okay, so this is obviously clearly been possibly a probate, I think, on this one, to be fair, like an old person's place.
Yeah, wet room, isn't it?
You've got it. It's pretty standard. So what generally people tend to do, it's very small actually, is they tend to put like a 3/4 bath in here.
Noisy fan, like you said in the other one.
But I'd rather have a noisy fan than no fan. But listen to that. Yeah, would you turn that on as a tenant?
No.
£40 replacement, you wouldn't hear it. That's what I mean about people being tight. I mean, it's not so much in this house, but it's really important. So again, you just need to work out the space. Where can I put a bath? People go, oh, you don't have to have a bath. If you've got children, you want to get your kid in a bath. Well, actually, people like to just chill out and have a bath. So it's quite common to sort of see, I mean, I'm a living midget. You see me, I don't get down and dirty. So that is not gonna fit a normal sized man because I'm about 3 foot tall. But my point is, you need to take really into account, so you start lying this way. Now that does work. So automatically, you need to think, how does this work? How can we put a bath in here that would suit a 6 foot guy? You know, because otherwise it is just a shower room. You can't do it any other way. Or, I mean, that's a solid, so you can't do anything there. And also, the boiler would disappear. But your only option then would be bath here. It'd have to be a narrow. Or you could get quite creative, which you saw in the old property, and lose the door and put a pocket door in the wall. So you build a false wall, that slides, but then you've got none of this. So you don't open onto the bath. You slide it, you've got a whole bath. You'd probably leave the toilet where it is. It's a little bit of a squeeze, but it's about getting creative. Doing stupid things like lying on the floor just actually tells you, tape measure's good, but I know my height.
Yeah.
I'm 3 foot tall, so we're going strong. But I know my height, so I know roughly I need to be looking another foot beyond that to make sure that the 6 foot guy or lady fits in there. Because, you know, that's what they're going to want. Windows, double glazed. Again, we have the vent here. You notice the difference. I mean, no one's living here, but it's drier. That automatically comes on with the light. But again, I would definitely change the fan.
So what we got here, mate?
We have probably the bodgiest thing I've ever seen. So rather than, this is actually roofing. This felt that you put on, it's like the tarmac that you put on top of the sheds. Yeah, and they put some clad. So it's definitely been a dad or someone that's built this back in the day. We've got some very, I mean, to be honest,
this is horrendous.
It's not even a shed. So again,
looks like a dungeon.
So what we would think,
what is this?
Isn't it?
Wow, looks something out of like a horror film.
But look, all jokes aside, this is a clearance job. This would fill a skip. Yeah. So how much is someone gonna charge me to take that out? Shit, that or something.
This is haunted house,
isn't it? But this is going to cost me probably a good part of 750 quid to get rid of. People look at that, go, I'll just chuck it away. Skip's 300 quid. Plus, you need to get a permit to be on the road with your skip. It's another 50 quid to 100 quid. So your skip's almost 500. Plus, you're going to have to pay a man a couple £100 to take it out.
You got to knock down a brick down there as well.
Another expense. Well, you'd probably leave the slab and do something and knock it out. But yeah, it's a bit. It's what it is, isn't
Should
it?
free up a nice bit of space though.
So again, I'll just go back to just checking them drains again. I mean, you can see the difference. It's something so simple, but a grill. And that's what, I mean, it's a load of crap, let's not be honest, but it's stopping the stones. There's nothing running back into it. Pipework's been looked after. You know, so although it's old, it's clearly been looked after when the person lived here. You know, he took pride in his shed. Modern fence. So what you got here is shared access. So the shared access is quite common in terrace properties. Literally bin just runs side across. It's just the way that things used to be done. Now, it's a really, really good sized garden. Yeah, so I mean, you take that out, you're 100, yeah, as good as 100 garden is an eyesore. So when I talk about eyesores, things that I don't like,
that's
things that, really put me off.
It's like being inside of a jail or something.
We've got a shed at the bottom, a greenhouse, so this is all clearance. So you're looking already, people go, oh, well, you just clear it out. You've got to take this, so that and that and that. You're probably looking at probably 1,500 to 2 grand to get this cleared out. Plus, we now need to start thinking, in my opinion, if I would take this, I'd want to put a composite clad of some sort. I don't even know what it's about. The spikes, it's just not really what you want to be seeing. You look at this side, that's sort of what you expect. You wouldn't expect that. And also, I'm looking up at that window. That has to be the bodgiest extension I've ever seen.
It's rough, isn't it?
Look underneath the... So I think this is the telltale sign.
That one there.
Yeah, this is the telltale sign. The neighbours, I don't know what's going on here, but they've done their extension. They've done a horrendous loft extension. All the tiles are missing on it, so that's going to be leaking water in. The lead work's all over the place.
And you got Joseph Fritzl's bunker next to it.
That's it, and you've got clearly a privacy thing here. So you need to start thinking of these things, because I wouldn't want to live here, simple as that. Walking around initially, I was thinking, good sized property, etc. Nice street, but there's the whole picture. Yeah, £2,000 just to clear it. Then I've got probably a privacy issue. I know the neighbour's roof, who's terrace to mine, is knackered because someone's been up there bodging around. Don't want that. I want the ones, if you look down here, if it's 3 or 4 down, yeah, fine. All nice, yeah, it's all in line. The hips are all nice in line. Tile work follows, missing a tile or two.
Even next door, I mean, look at the guttering on the
But
back
look across. There. So you need to be the one further down there. So let's say why this is such a problem, let's say oh, that's cool, that's fine, we'll sort our side out. The neighbours go, no, I don't want to. Oh, what if I do it? No, I don't want you on my property, I don't want you on my roof. Then what's the problem? So this one absolutely is a no-go.
So mate, where have you taken me now? Because this is getting wild.
Yeah, it always does, always does. So what we're basically looking at here, there's particular areas in Peterborough which were built in a certain unconventional way. So essentially, I mean, this is where you've massively helped me on a lending perspective. Since Grenfell, unfortunately, what happened, a lot of houses in Peterborough like this, you can't get mortgages on. They were massive for buy-to-let because financially they're cheaper.
Yep.
So they're looking really good. So you get like a 3-bed property, get about £1,000 on the rent.
Yep.
Good sized double bedrooms, bathrooms. So for cash flow, they're good.
Yeah.
You think.
Yeah.
You then come to get the lending, you go to the likes of you.
And you just can't get it.
No. How many lenders did you find?
There's about 2, if you're lucky.
So if one lender decides to come out, you got one.
And the other thing we talked about, what is it if there's issues down the line?
So what do you mean?
What happens? Say, another Grenfell happens, something like that, or timber frame construction, something happens. Then what do you do if you want to pull money out?
What do you do? I mean, one thing as well that it does is it massively ceilings your appreciation.
Yeah.
Because they're almost in there, because they're not built they're almost done in a way that only suits them properties. So they'll only ever be worth X amount. I think you mentioned there's properties in Milton Keynes.
Yep, there's an area of Milton Keynes, Bean Hill, Netherfield, where they're just basically prefabs that were temporarily only meant to be there.
Yeah.
But they're still there like 30, 40 years on.
It's
You're not going to get a mortgage
same
on
for
those.
these, because I've looked at these myself previously, and it wasn't until I sort of worked it out. Yeah, you look at it, and if you look, I mean, there's hundreds of these. And what people actually do a bit further down is they composite the front. So rather than dealing with treating the wood like a fence, they put like
Should we go and have a look at that?
Yeah. So it looks, don't get me wrong, it looks smart to put the composite on, but as you said, it still doesn't reflect the fact you take the composite away and you've literally just got the timber exposed.
This is the thing, isn't it? It's just you're basically taking the front of the house off.
Yeah, but you're drawn in by the costs, you're drawn in by the deals, you tenant that super quick. You'll still get really good yield, but you're going to struggle to lend on the thing. Yeah.
What's the old saying? If it looks too good to be true,
yeah,
probably is. So these are the composites.
Yeah, you look at that in comparison to what we looked at. The grey one looks really attractive. Nice windows, nice.
But then there's reason for it though, isn't there?
But there is, and as you said, for them it's obviously reducing the upkeep. So like first time buyers and stuff, it doesn't really matter so much. But on an investment where there's only 2 lenders and you're looking, well, 80% of your gross in property, and 80% of that's in the property that maybe 2 lenders may not lend in the future.
Yeah.
Such a risk.
Or they could both make the decision to get out of the market.
Yeah, it's such a risk. None. Such a risk. And then you start with property, you're going, what do I do with it?
But then you've got things like fire risk as well.
Yeah, I mean, what's to say? I mean, post Grenfell, that's obviously however happened, but what's to then say that they become completely unmortgageable?
Yep.
And then no one can physically buy them. Like you've got the flats, them high-rise flats. Mm-hmm. People can't physically buy them.
I can think of 2 separate people that I know are in situations with properties, flats they've got in London, exactly the same situations because of the cladding.
It's crazy, yet in these, they say Peterborough's phenomenal in respect to areas to buy, and this is a really great area to buy in.
So, mate, what a day. We've been round Peterborough, on the ground, men on the ground.
Got coffee?
You did. You just bought us a nice lunch. Thank you so much.
Lamb burger.
That was
lamb burger.
Absolutely banging for lunch. But before we go to that, I want to talk about those houses and the numbers involved. And what I'll do is I'll put some interest rates up as we talk about them. But house number 1, I mean, what's it on the market for, mate?
So it's one at 180. So we're looking at 180.
Yeah.
Obviously, we clocked the works that needed doing. So you wouldn't be paying what I wouldn't be paying 180 for that for my investors. Something. It'd be I'll work my magic on that, definitely.
What do you think you could get it for? Idea. What would
I was
you
sitting there
look to?
thinking of that straight after. I reckon sensibly, so it's all about understanding the solution and the problem. So from this perspective, we know that we're looking at someone who's failed to sell the property for 6 months. There's motivation there.
Yeah.
We've also got a situation where the windows need to be changed.
Yep.
We've also got the situation where door needs to be changed. These are all almost a bit of leverage that we can use.
Yep.
I reckon realistically 180, because 180 is quite competitive for that area.
Yep.
It's a decent area. They're roughly around 200, so I'd probably get that inside 165, I reckon.
Nice.
Yeah.
And on that 165, I mean, in this kind of area, what are you typically seeing investors put down as a cash deposit on that?
So the mark, I mean, you know the numbers aren't anyone, but realistically, we're looking at 30%. Realistically,
Yep.
the great thing of Peterborough is because the rents are so strong.
Yeah.
Like that house will it run earlier.
Yeah.
That'll go for £1,000 a month.
So £1,000 a month rent.
Yeah.
It's on the market at 180. You reckon potentially 165?
You probably need to put in 15, but you'd put it back. The thing is, you'd be adding your value.
So in terms of a cash number, what do you reckon? 50 grand?
I reckon 60.
60
Only
grand.
because it needs the windows, but you'd negotiate that into the price. So you'd probably looking at, I mean, if I went hard, I'd get 160. It's all about the circumstance of the vendor, but even if you secured at 165, let's say you put in 10 grand's worth of work and that property
Yeah.
now becomes 200,
Yeah.
you laugh.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And £1,000 a month rent.
Yeah,
So
and I think the main thing is the rental. You're just off the train station.
Yeah.
You're right near the city centre in the nicer terraced area.
yeah.
So not only have you got a property that's gone up in value,
Yep.
you've increased the value,
Yep.
but at the same point we've then got rentability. That'll be let out in a week.
Perfect.
And you can choose your tenant. You'll have tenants sort of jumping at you to get it because of the type of property it
So
is.
what I'm going to do, based on those figures you said there, I'm going to pop something up here now, which is going to show you interest rates and monthly payments on a 5-year fix or a 3-year fixed rate, and maybe we'll throw in a 2-year, so you've got some comparables. Property 2, second one we went to have a look at. Numbers, what do you think on that, on the market? Even though this is one you wouldn't go for.
Yeah, let's be clear, we wouldn't go for it because we knew there was a bit of a weirdness going in the back garden.
just a little bit
So
weird.
that was on, I think that was on at 165. I mean, to be honest, in the state it was actually in a better state than the first one.
Yep.
But it was the back garden that obviously instantly, like looking at the roof, we looked at the tile missing. When we got round the back, we realised there was actually issues with the roof. That's why we decided this isn't a goer.
Yeah.
Plus the weird fence in the back. But let's say 165. I'd probably look to secure that 165. I'd 16s 10. I'd probably push hard for one because it's a probate.
Yep.
And because they just want to get sold, I understand the motivation.
Yep.
Also, I've got a good relationship with the agent.
Yep.
So she's again opened up to me what potential they would take.
Yep.
And how motivated and where the motivation comes from. So maybe a cash offer 135.
So 135, and to put in a cash deposit, what would you say?
I'd probably go 130 on cash. But anyway, it doesn't matter. So even let's just ignore the cash. Let's say we looked at general rule of thumb 145. You're then looking at your 45. You say your 30% deposit. So you're probably looking at around 45, 50,000.
Yeah.
But it's exactly the same. That property was secure at the 145.
Yep.
You don't have to put a lot into it. Let's say the garden was fine.
Yep.
You would obviously the boiler was fine. It was it needed a rewire, 3 grand. So let's say we put in 20 grand, so you end up all in at 165 for the purchase of the property in regards to the refurb.
Yep.
But then again, on the back end, the property is going to be worth 180, 190.
Right, so
rental, you're probably around on them type of properties 950, 970.
So we're looking at purchasing around 130, 135
If cash,
for cash.
I'd say cash, yeah.
And say if we took it on a mortgage,
145.
145, you put what, another 40 grand in deposit to get the mortgage?
Let's work all facts and figures. Always do your facts and figures, guys. Don't work off your head. So 145, as we said, let's just take that at 30% given. So that's a buy-in at 43,000.
Right.
Stamp duty, hypothetically, I don't know the figure. Let's just say we're looking at about 4 grand.
Yep.
I'm just plucking figures. We know that again it needs the rewire. It needs a bit of work. So let's be a little bit OTT. Let's say it needs 10 grand's worth of work. It doesn't. So again, we're looking at about 55.
So let's run that again. So from the start, so we know the figures. So property number 2,
Yeah.
you reckon you could purchase it about 145?
Let's go 145.
So in terms of deposit, taking into account fees, refurb, what do you reckon you got to put into it on your end?
56, 57 grand.
So about 56 grand into it
With the refurb.
with a refurb to open market value of about 180, 190.
Yeah, a nice standard.
Okay.
And a solid rental again on a property that you would easily rent out, lettable, and have
Yeah.
a good location. Like the first
Perfect.
one.
Let's get some numbers up here again for the interest rates. What's available today, end of October 2023. Going to add those up here now. So mate, that was an absolutely cracking day. We've done a couple of viewings, we've got some figures. Hopefully everyone's enjoyed the content out there. What's there left to say, mate?
To be honest, tired. put a lot out there to give you lots of value today. To be fair, I think if you've had some value from Adam's page, he really puts a lot into it, and as I'm not part of the page, just subscribe, guys.
A local guest.
That's it, local guest, but obviously hit the subscribe down there, and we'll make sure that we put more content out for you to basically bring as much value as possible. That's
Thank
fair
you.
to say.
Appreciate that, mate.
No worries, mate.
Thank you. And we will see you in the next one.
Have a great day. See you then.